Welcome to the Success with Jewelry podcast, where we invite you inside our conversations about business success and marketing for jewelry designers and entrepreneurs. Welcome to episode 52. In this episode, special guest Sarah Rachel Brown and I are going to be discussing the perceived value of marketing. We'll be covering why is marketing valuable and is the cost worth it? We also want to tell you about our insider community. When you join, you'll have access to extended episodes full of tips that you can start implementing today and further resources about each topic we discuss. There's some bonus content from this episode for insiders. We'll talk more about the cost of marketing and what we find to be the most valuable investments. To get access to this exclusive content, sign up by visiting successwithjewelry.com. Hey, Sarah, let's get into it.
Hey.
Yay. I'm so excited that you're here. This is a fun change. Larissa is on her honeymoon and she just got married. Yay, Larissa.
Congratulations.
And I wanted to give her a break. So I'm glad you're here.
And I mean, I've been podcasting since 2017 and I have never been on another person's podcast.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I mean, I launched the American Craft podcast, so that's a different podcast technically, but I wasn't a guest. I didn't get just to like plug in my microphone and hang out.
Oh, right. It is much more stressful to be leading the conversation, right?
Yeah, I'm chilling. This is great.
Before Larissa and I started this podcast, I was only guests on podcasts. And sometimes because Larissa is the podcast, expert here in our duo, sometimes I still feel like a guest every time I show up.
I love that. She's like, here's the script, here's your prompts, let's go.
Even when I write the script, she just has such a steady hand,
Yeah. Well, I love that for you. It's a good duo.
It's a good duo. I'm very grateful for it. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. And also fun. I mean, we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but we just all met each other. I mean, you and I have known each other for a while, but met Larissa. So I feel like we were just all in person together.
We were physically. I know. I listened to that episode about the recap of the New York City shows because I was like, I was there. Let's hear what they said about it.
I have to get you the extended version because it is much more wrong.
Yeah. Okay, good. I love that.
Yeah, I'll send that to you. But anyway, so we're here today to talk about the perceived value of marketing. And I thought this would be a fun topic because Larissa and I do love opening the curtain, opening the door to our marketing meetings and letting people out there really know what we're thinking as marketers. And you have a podcast called Perceived Value.
I love what you did there.
Yeah.
That was good. What did you say? Oh, sorry. Did you want me to tell them what that is?
Yeah, tell us what perceived value is.
Oh, okay. Well, Perceived Value is a podcast I started in 2017 where I do intimate one-on-one interviews with artists, creatives, arts administrators, anybody trying to make money off of their creative endeavors. And we have radically transparent conversations around both the financial and logistical aspects of our careers. So when people are like, what was your inspiration for the podcast? And I was like, frustration around the lack of these conversations in pretty prestigious institutions, or when I was an artist resident here or at this fellowship here, where, they wanted to talk about the intricacies of making a 6-part mold, but no one wanted to talk about how they're actually making a living, how they file their taxes, etc. So I got really upset. And then I started a podcast about it.
I love that because I come from the fine jewelry industry. You come from the art jewelry industry, they're very different, but there's a lot of similarities. And I think one of them is that it's hard to get information and it's hard to figure out how to actually have a business in either of those industries.
And, I would say I'm actually from a craft school background. I would say that I'm a product of the craft school experience. And through that, learned about the art jewelry world, which was even more frustrating because I was like, oh, wait a minute. None of you are making money off of this work. You're in academia or you have another business on the side. Or it was like, I thought the art jewelry sector of the industry or something was something that I was really drawn to, of course, because it's fun. But then I learned that it's more like their hobby. It's a hobby. Right. Not many people are running it as a business.
Well, the thing about craft schools that I've learned in my many years living in Asheville is that they don't teach marketing and they don't necessarily teach you. And this is not all art schools. Obviously, I'm generalizing here, but a lot of times they don't teach you how to make a product that you sell and they don't necessarily encourage the selling of your work.
Right. Yeah. There is this weird disconnect here where it's like your value or your prestige or I don't know, your identity is so closely intermixed with your productivity and how much work you make and also the labor that comes in the work, right? Like everybody likes to put people on a pedestal that will spend 40,000 hours making a piece. But then when they tell you the price tag of it, it's like, gosh, like they're like, oh, well, how dare you think you can charge that for that?
Right.
The disconnect is wild.
It's wild. And then you look at different mediums like ceramics or not ceramics as much, but like, paintings and other forms of art. And people don't scoff at price tags the same way they scoff at price tags for jewelry. It's very
Right.
interesting.
Yeah, I've never met a blue chip artist, which I learned what that word was on my own podcast, and I'm not going
I
to
don't
try
know
to
the
give
word
the
on it.
definition.
Oh,
What?
okay. I don't
I
know what that is.
Oh, thank you. I'm not the only one. Part about being a podcast host or doing something like this is like your willingness to sound stupid and naive. Gotta say it.
1000%.
Because somebody was like, how did you not know what a blue chip artist is? I don't know. It's like the type of artist whose work their resale value is going to appreciate or etc. Right? Like
Got it.
these really expensive, I don't know, would Banksy's a blue chip? There's all types. Google it, people. But I've
Going
never
to.
heard of a jeweler that's a blue chip artist. Glass
Yeah.
artist, sure. Also, the perceived value between the craft mediums is just wild, right? Like glass could be like the shittiest vase and it's gonna just go for whatever at an auction. And then you'll have like a gold brooch with like these beautifully pave set diamonds in it, and like people are like barely paying attention to it.
Yes.
I don't get
I
it.
found selling very high-end jewelry, like very high-end jewelry, like, 5 figures, six
Mm,
figures.
yeah.
People ask, like, the value of the materials. They're very concerned about, the gem quality, like the carat weight of the gemstones you're using, and then the carat of the metal and stuff like that. And it's a lot of that, like, is this going to grow in value over time? Is this a good investment? And I think it's so
Mm-hmm.
interesting because oftentimes people buy art that there's different types of art buyers. We're totally on a sidetrack right now,
Yeah,
which
we
is
are like spiraling. You know what? I love it. But
spiraling.
my episodes get to be like 45 minutes to an hour. Yours is like
So
20.
this might be a longer episode. And when I send this to Larissa to edit, she's gonna be like, okay, Liz.
Why'd you do it to me? Sorry,
Yeah, I'm
Larissa.
not gonna let you do this again. But anyway, it all kind of circles back to where we're going. I'm gonna get this back on track.
She's doing it.
But it circles back to where we're going is like, is marketing valuable? I mean, so I
Mm.
find that I've been working with handcrafted artists, independent designers for a long time, and I've never met one that feels very comfortable marketing themselves.
I would
So,
say that is a very correct statement, probably. And I don't even know. Yeah.
right.
Sounds about
I mean,
right.
for the most part, not many people go into their craft or into this industry from a place of, I am excited to market. I'm excited to have a business. Actually, it's a lie. I've met a few. I've met a handful who are kind of in that mindset, but most people come at it from a passion.
Mm-hmm.
So the marketing end of things, I think that a lot of designers find really challenging. So first off, what is marketing? I just wanted to define this because I was writing this outline and I was like, how do I kick this off?
Right.
Marketing is the activity or business of promoting and selling products or services, including like market research and advertising. And the question I kind of came up with to kick this off was, where would a business be without marketing?
Uh, in your mom's basement, making gifts for your family members for the holidays. That's where it would be. Yeah.
Right. So have you ever met? That's true. That's true. I mean, that is true. And like from that, yes, maybe there would be some word of mouth and maybe you would
Right.
get a few people outside of that circle. And I do
Totally.
believe like word of mouth, one-on-one conversation is like such a crucial thing to be doing, but that's
Yeah.
essentially marketing.
It is. No, that is defined as marketing. So, I mean, if you truly are not doing any kind of marketing, like not even telling people about it or et cetera, then like you're sitting in a room by yourself with your things that you're making, right? The minute you start telling anybody about it or showing them a picture on your phone or et cetera, that can be technically defined as you marketing yourself.
Right. And I
Mhm.
mean, so many designers have mentioned to me like that they often sell pieces of jewelry off of themselves. Simply wearing your jewelry is marketing. I think that
Right.
you can't have a product that you're selling without marketing. Like, even if you're somebody who's like, I don't want to be marketing my product, I just want to be creating something I love, I think you
Right.
still end up marketing it.
Yeah. 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 And then it's like, what in their mind does that mean? Right. Because when someone says a sentence like that, it can mean something completely and wildly different for somebody else. They're just saying, I don't want to be editing TikToks, or they're saying, I don't want to be on social media, but I love sending emails. I can do that. So it really depends on what they're saying with that statement that I don't want to be marketing.
Right. Because
Right.
marketing encompasses so much stuff. And I think I had trouble writing this outline too, because it's like, as a marketer, I've been in marketing my entire life, my entire career,
Right.
always and forever. So it's like, I love it. It's such an important piece of everything. So anytime I like, eat at a restaurant or see a business, or I'm like thinking about how they could market better. But I come at it from the point of view of like, marketing to me is about connection and growing in a way that's like really like authentic. Like, you're doing something cool, more people should know about it.
Right. 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 Right.
So
Hmm.
why is marketing valuable? I mean, to me, it's everything.
Oh, it's totally everything. And even when even for me, like with the podcast and everything that I've done, I constantly am like, why am I doing this? This is a time sink, etc. And then I look at opportunities that like show up in my inbox or come from places I don't expect. And then I can kind of do the trace of how this person might have found me or came to offer me this opportunity. And I'm like, oh, they heard about me through this thing and this marketing. So it like, even it's also not immediately understood how the marketing's going to impact you. It's like a long game as well, which is kind of crazy. Like, who knows what will happen from me being on this podcast, which, by the way, is marketing.
It is. It totally is. This
Yeah.
podcast in itself for me is marketing too. It's also, a passion project, and it's, to get information to jewelry designers, but it's also putting myself out there. And I think a big
Right.
part of marketing is putting yourself out there. So when we're looking at the value, and we're going to get into the cost in a minute here, but it's
Hmm.
also like time. I mean, it's not just money that you spent, but a lot of times it's the time that you're willing to invest.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, and I know we're talking about this, but I last year started working full time for myself as a consultant. And I was always drawn to the marketing aspect within my full time day job as a custom jewelry design specialist. So I like kind of fell into doing marketing, although I never expected that for myself. And most interesting thing I get is people, how they perceive how much time it takes, right? Like every client is like, oh, I'll sign on for like a 3-month contract just to see how like you do this and you can teach me things and blah, blah, blah. And I'll probably take it on after that. And twice now they've been like, never mind. Like I'll show them the amount of hours and time it takes me to do it because I'm also a person who tracks my time really closely to see how much money I'm losing by not charging enough. Um, so it's always like a shocker to them. People don't understand that marketing is essentially like another part-time job or full-time job.
It's
Yeah.
huge. And speaking of like time, like 3 months isn't enough to like really see the value if you're doing something like content strategy, or putting a new, strategy into place. It really takes like 6 to 9 months and to a year
Yeah.
to really see what's
Yeah.
working. And I wanted to mention,
Yeah.
kind of in this conversation, brand equity, which is like the value of a brand. So, which branding is like a part of marketing. It's a little bit different, but
Hmm.
the I was thinking about the like storied brands like Cartier, Tiffany and Co. and the brands that have been around for hundreds of years, and
Right.
how valuable, like, you couldn't put a price tag on the Tiffany and Co. brand. I mean,
Right.
you would never be able to pay for that because it's so recognizable. And I think that that's
Right.
the value of marketing too. And like building a brand and building a story is that you then get to a point where people know you.
Yeah. 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 That's super valuable. And also sidetrack on the 3 months. Those are for the ones that are like, don't even want to spend $1,000 on someone posting and scheduling their content for a month, which by the way, everybody is too low. if you're doing
That
this
is
full
way too
time.
low.
That
You're
is
not charging
way
enough.
too low. So I'll like meet them halfway and be like, okay, I'll do this rate for 3 months and show you the amount I'm going to do for you. And then they're like, oh yeah, now I get it. Usually they'll pay me more.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
Good for you. Because
Thank you.
that's very, very affordable. So actually that's a good segue into like, is the cost worth it? So marketing is expensive. And even if you're doing it yourself, the time aspect that you're putting in, if you're thinking about an hourly rate for like how you're spending your time, and what you're not doing because you are doing the marketing, it's really expensive.
Yeah.
So yeah, where is
No,
the
you
best
go.
place to spend your money when it comes to marketing?
Oh, where's the best place to spend your money when it comes to marketing? What are you going to say on this? I have thoughts.
I don't know.
Like
No,
you go first. I don't know. You're the professional within here. I'm the like newbie. So I'm like, ooh, what's
oh
she
my
gonna
gosh.
say?
Yeah. So what I would say, I wonder what Larissa would say, but no, I think she'd say the same thing as me, but it depends on your goals. So, it really depends on what your goals are and what you're trying to do. So there's no real answer, and it's so nuanced. Like there's no answer that I
Right.
could give you, like the magic thing that you can do to make your business big. I think that content's huge. I always think that spending on like photo shoots or content, is an amazing place to start with, because then, well, this is assuming that you have like the website, the social media page set up, like that you
Right.
have an email campaign going. So assuming those things, I think photo shoots and content is a great place to spend your money because there's so much you can do with that. Then you
Right.
can pursue press, then you have content for your emails, for your social media, for posters, postcards, all of those things. So I think that that's one of the most valuable things you could do.
Well, it's the foundation, right? Like try having like a robust marketing strategy without any like imagery or
Without any
whatever that like
imagery.
looks
Yep.
nice, right? So you kind of have to. And it's you said goals, and the thing that popped in my mind immediately was like, what do you value as a business owner? Like, where do you want to be? I have a client who has always said she never wants to go away from the bench. Like she wants to continue making the jewelry. And she doesn't even want to know what the marketing strategy is, which is like not great. But like, I only mean that in the way that she just really wants to be able to trust the person she's paying to do it. So she doesn't have to micromanage or be a part of it. I totally get that. So she's willing to pay that amount so she really can have zero headspace for it. So just really, and that, and then she's paying somebody to do all the things, the social media management, the email marketing campaigns, and the outreach and the organization of photo shoots. That's
Yeah.
what I do.
The question which is great, like
Yeah.
huge value to like hand it off to somebody that you trust, that you really feel like you can work with.
Mm-hmm.
But where was I going to go? So yeah, it depends. I was going to say that a lot of times I talk to designers and they're like, what's the first thing I should outsource? Because like being a solopreneur is like really hard. Actually, Todd Reed told me once that the hardest thing he did in his business was going from like one employee to two. And I could totally see that, because like you have to let go of a lot. You have to like really change your thinking about your business. I could see that being a challenging
Oh, I
thing to
love
do.
that. I'm going to remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so sometimes people are like, where should I invest first when it comes to hiring? And it's like, to your point exactly, it's like, what don't you want to be doing? Like, what's the thing you
Right.
really want to get off your plate? And that's what you choose to invest in first.
Yeah. I just started working with somebody who loves actually creating the content and the TikToks. I was like, oh, okay, unicorn. And
You're a unicorn.
but she doesn't have a strategy and she's not very good at like organizing it and scheduling it. So I'm working together with her to like just create a content calendar. It's like, look at that. That's really smart how she's like navigating that.
Yeah, that is really smart.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to also talk about trade shows, because we were just in New York City and we walked a bunch of trade shows. And this is something that I think could be a marketing expense. I would consider it a marketing expense. But when you were talking to artists out there,
Mm-hmm.
these are expensive endeavors, like doing a trade show. And I just did a chat in the Stagel Collective yesterday about direct to consumer events, and those are expensive endeavors too. What do you think?
What do I think in the fact, is it worth to spend the money to go there to network, or is it worth to go there to like have as a jeweler?
Both.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll speak from experience. I went up for, I mean, Liz knows this because I actually reached out to her. Yes, I get imposter syndrome. I get nervous or etc. And I was like, Liz, I think I'm going to like come up and walk the trade shows. I hadn't been up there for that since before the pandemic. I haven't gone to a jewelry week since before the pandemic. So I am rusty, people. And as somebody who started being an independent professional within the industry last year, I was like, Sarah, you have to get your butt up there. So, I bought my Amtrak tickets. I had to like clear my schedule for a day. I think I probably invested, you know, maybe $200 total to go for the experience. But the connections I made and the people that I reconnected with are so much more valuable than that $200. And it was fun. I don't mind looking at pretty things. So I think whenever there's an opportunity where it's minimal overhead for you to attend and be there and show up and kind of connect with new people, that is so incredibly valuable.
Yes, I agree. So, trade shows, it's hard to say if they're worth it. I think it all, again,
Mm,
comes back to aligning with your goals and what you're trying to get out of something. But even if you're at a show or a direct to consumer event where you're not making the sales that you're looking to make, the
mhm.
connections could be worth it. So, really understanding where you're at. And I think that also depends on the price point of your product because it takes a longer time to sell a fine jewelry item. It takes a longer time if you're just getting started. You have to keep showing up.
Right.
So the cost could be worth it.
Yeah, and I was also there incognito in some ways to scout the Melly show and the Metal and Smith show and hear the word on the New York Now show from multiple individuals that I work with or are colleagues. And one client, she has never done a trade show. She's not really, oh, okay, Philly traffic. Um, it was something where she's like, would it be a good investment? And I went there and I was like, no, not for you. It's not worth this amount of money for what she wants it to be. But I was like, maybe the Metal and Smith show, because it's like a lower price point or whatever. What's the thing that Megan Patrice Riley does at the
Yeah, that little
um,
pop-up was so sweet. It was like 7 artists at a hotel right nearby the Javits Center.
right. Yeah. Something like that. Right. Because I know that one specific client I work with, her superpower is her ability to talk to people, her Southern charm, and her connecting. So I want to get her in places where she's face to face with people to make an impression on them, not necessarily writing a bunch of orders or getting a bunch of wholesale accounts, because I don't even think she wants to do wholesale, but she wants to connect with people to get her brand out there more. So that's what I'm looking for her.
I love that. I love that
Mm-hmm.
you're like a second opinion for her. If anybody, and this is why we do this podcast, this is why I have the Stay Gold Collective, this is why we're out here, is because
Mm.
if anybody ever wants to bounce, their thoughts off of someone, like Larissa and I are here for that, Sarah's here for
Yeah.
that. I don't want any designer to like feel alone in these like big decisions they're making. If you do feel alone, just reach out.
It's that's so funny too, because said client, I guess I would go under the title of like managing director for her now. And sometimes I feel like I'm not being very effective. I have to check in with her and I'm like, I don't feel like I actually did anything for you this week. And she's like, no, that 2-hour meeting where we just talked about this one thing got me the clarity I needed. And she's like, and I couldn't get that from anybody else but you. And I was like, oh, that's valuable. Okay, okay. Yeah.
think I think that took us full circle that marketing is valuable, but knowing what you need is where you start.
Right. And you start small. If you only have a couple $100, figure out ways in which you can get value for that and outsource something.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, thanks so much for being here. Where can everyone find you?
You can find me. The best place to find me is on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. I'm at Sarah Rachel Brown, or you can find my podcast, Perceived Value Podcast, at Perceived Value. And then website at perceivedvaluepodcast.com. Those are the best spots.
All right. We want to know, do you have any thoughts about the value of marketing? What kind of marketing are you investing in for your business? Visit successwithjewelry.com to sign up for the extended episode as well as exclusive content and let us know what you're thinking. Thank you so much for listening.